Welcome back. It's your girl Foxy, and welcome to episode 4 of FOXYBITS, the official FOXY Jazzabelle mini podcast. Took a bit of a break because things have been pretty busy for me. I was in Chicago 2 weeks ago for the second annual Women of Color Beyond Belief conference, the secular conference for all the colored heathens, atheists, agnostics, humanists, etc. I moderated a few panels. Those will be put on my main media channel, FOXY Jazzabelle on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that content later this month. Make sure you're subscribed to Foxy on YouTube as well as the FOXYBITS YouTube channel. And with all that said, let's get into some smaller topics before hitting this week's main topics. So, have y'all been reading the X books lately under Jonathan Hickman? Oh my God, baby. It's been so damn good. So damn good. And he's had a lot of great writers and artists with him as well. But sadly, all reigns must come to an end. And the major storyline, Inferno, is the last X-Men arc by Hickman himself. I'm a little concerned about that because I know it'll be good, but part of me wonders if it's such a good idea dismantling everything that was built. I mean, to be quite frank, I haven't seen this much awesome world building and plots since the Chris Claremont era. Yeah, I said it. I said what I said. Fuck what Rob Liefeld said. Thanks to Hickman, the X-Men have been returning to being that effing book. I mean, he cleared up all the continuity issues, gave mutants an actual homeland, political influence, character development of the ensemble casts, just solid storytelling. And now with these mutants of Arakko being reunited with the mutants of Krakoa on Earth, and then terraforming Mars to become planet Arakko, baby, the X-books have been awesome. They are awesome. And y'all need to be reading them if you aren't already. I know for me, there's a couple of trades that I still have to get fully caught up on post X of Swords. But let me tell you, Inferno is shaping up to be that bitch. And y'all need to get on that. I actually may do a video on it on my main Foxy YouTube channel. So again, be sure to subscribe to my main media channel at youtube.com/C/FOXY Jazzabelle. So, some good news out of Texas. A federal judge has ordered the state to suspend their abortion ban bill. U.S. Circuit District Judge Robert Pittman ordered the suspension of Texas Senate Bill 8, intentionally named the Fetal Heartbeat Bill by Texas state Republicans. In his order, Pittman states, and I quote, "From the moment SB 8 went into effect, women have been unlawfully prevented from exercising control over their lives in ways that are protected by the Constitution. That other courts may find a way to avoid this conclusion is theirs to decide. This court will not sanction one more day of this offensive deprivation of such an important right." Now, if you didn't know, SB 8, which it went into effect on September 1st, it basically bans abortions once so-called cardiac activity is detected in the womb. And I say so-called cardiac activity because the activity the ban is based on isn't cardiac at all. It's just electrical activity within the embryonic cells that doctors utilize as a benchmark that the pregnancy is proceeding normally. As any biologist would tell you, a human embryo doesn't have a heart at 6 weeks development. So like all things the GOP based their justification for legislation on, SB 8 is based on lies and disinformation about human fetal development. And speaking of folks who have sadly turned out to be wastes of human fetal development, Dave Chappelle, released his final Netflix comedy special, The Closer, where he continued to double down on his anti-trans sentiments. Again. And cry about being a victim of cancel culture. Again. According to the site LGBTQ Nation, Chappelle proclaimed outright that trans folks want him dead. Sarah. Nigga. Stop it. Nobody wants you, let alone wants you dead. So fuck off with the performative victimhood, okay? Plus, you proclaimed that you're Team TERF, trans exclusionary reductive feminists, a group of supposed feminists who actually want all trans women dead. So it takes a metric fuck ton of audacity for this nigga to proclaim that a marginalized group wants him dead while loudly supporting a group that actually wants said marginalized group dead. And he constantly tried to pit racism versus anti-queerness, as if, black queer people and black trans people don't fucking exist. And then to have the nerve to cry about being a victim of censorship while having had a fucking 5011 special deal with Netflix that garnered him millions of fucking dollars. And he still was doing comedy shows on top of that and a podcast with his problematic patriarchal men besties, Talib Kweli and Mos Def. No, I don't know what the fuck Mos Def changed his name to. Fuck him. And fuck you too, Dave Chappelle. Fuck you. Fuck your reduction of trans women as not quite women via that Impossible Burger so-called joke. Fuck your bitching and moaning about being canceled when you're a fucking millionaire who was given a huge platform by Netflix. Fuck you for choosing to double down on punching down on marginalized groups like trans women while sticking up for fuckboys like DaBaby, aka DaBozo, DaBigot, because of fucking course you would. Because one thing that patriarchal black men will do, it's enable each other to continue to be as toxic as possible to everyone around them. Fuck you. And don't anyone dare say it's just jokes, because it's really not. It's been shown that jokes, more specifically disparagement humor, actually helps to foster prejudice and bigotry and aids in their perpetuation. And that's all Dave Chappelle did for every one of his Netflix specials. What was it? A 5 special bitch fest full of performative victimhood and disparagement humor towards trans women. This is not the punching up humor that made me and that made most folks a fan of Chappelle's show on Comedy Central. This is just the last hurrah of a bitter old black man who's pissed off that the folks historically punched down on in that he's those groups that are historically punched down on, women, the gays, trans folks. He's just pissed off that we're not putting up with his or Chris Rock's bullshit anymore. Take cues from Desus and Mero, Dave. Evolve into a human being with empathy, or just fuck off. Week, serial sexual predator and R&B singer R.Kelly was convicted of 9 federal charges that include racketeering and sex trafficking. Now, there are folks who aren't celebrating this, like Ebro, Rosenberg, and them on Hot 97 because, black men going to jail and their inner turmoil about, how they feel about Kelly's catalog of music. More on that in a bit. But, bitch, I'm fucking celebrating. Woohoo! That nigga's going to jail. You know what I got to say to that? Guilty. That nigga is guilty. That's what I got to say. This man was given carte blanche to utilize his fame and talent to prey on teenage girls and emerging adults and black women for decades. And we all gave it to him. We all did. Even after it came out that he married late singer Aaliyah when she was 15 and he was 27. 27 years old, and he married a 15-year-old. And it came out that folks lied about Aaliyah's age on the marriage certificate. They wrote down that she was 18 when she was really 15 at the time. Oh, and she was also pregnant. But then, R.Kelly later gave her family money to, make sure she got an abortion. Yeah, that. Even after the damn sex tape, where he was clearly seen urinating on she was either 14 or 15 years old. Even after that, where you clearly see this nigga pissing on a young teenage black girl. And that instance wasn't even the first time he's preyed on, groomed, and sexually assaulted young teenage girls and emerging adult girls. We all dismissed Aaliyah and the rest of his survivors as fast. Typical misogynoir bullshit, blaming young girls for being preyed upon by adults who should fucking know better. We brushed off their pain and their suffering because he obfuscated his deeds with mainstream hits like I Believe I Can Fly, Step in the Name of Love, I Wish, and, the remixes for Ignition and Feeling on Your Booty, where he got to feel, remember in the music video when he got to feel up all on Lil' Kim's ass in the music video? Yeah. And he was still able to work and produce hits for Michael Jackson, Jay-Z, Biggie, and even as recent as with Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber. Like allegedly, Justin Bieber made a song with R.Kelly called "Pussy Lips." Pussy Lips. Meanwhile, the entire time, Kelly doubled down on his predation, moving from Chicago to Atlanta, where, guess what? The age of consent is 16, so that he could continue to prey on teenage girls and emerging adult women. And fuckers like Ebro and Rosenberg have the nerve to be more concerned about letting go of Kelly's music catalog than his actions. Motherfuckers, his entire catalog is about his exploits as a sexual predator. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is wrong with you people? Okay, fine, I get it. You're into music, so of course the issue of chucking his catalog is gonna come up. I get it. But I watched a video where they talked about, after the verdict came down and he was found guilty on the federal charges. I heard these two men, Ebro and Rosenberg and Laura Stiles, exhibit like so much hesitancy because of his music's popularity. And I'm just like, are y'all fucking serious? I understand the feeling of, wanting to separate the art from the artist. I did it for a time with R.Kelly after he was acquitted on those child pornography charges when that tape came out. We all did. But that was a pipe dream. and fighting against reality. It is fucking impossible. Most singer-songwriters, they put their lives and themselves in their music. And again, Kelly was a sexual predator, is a sexual predator, and an abuser who has gotten away with his crimes for damn near 30 years. He told everything. He put down exactly what he was doing in every single one of his songs. He was even on video saying that if motherfuckers wanted to catch him, they should have tried it years ago. It was a clip. It was one of the first clips shown on that Lifetime special, Surviving R.Kelly. It's on Netflix. If y'all haven't watched it, which I'm surprised, but not surprised if you know, sexual violence, sexual abuse, things like that, if it's a trigger for folks, because, you know, it happens. So many of us are survivors of abuse, so I get it. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. It's all on Netflix. The inspiration for that song, You Are Not Alone, that he wrote for Michael Jackson, was a 17-year-old girl who he groomed, abused mentally, emotionally, and sexually, who ended up pregnant and had to get an abortion and became ill because of something that he passed on to her sexually. You cannot separate R. Kelly the person from the musician, because he never did. Like any abuser, R. Kelly had trophies via his music and his sex tapes. So people hemming and hawing about giving up his music catalog as if it's such a difficult thing to do. This is not only insulting to our collective intelligence, but it's a slap in the face to Aaliyah, to R. Kelly's ex-wife, to Sparkle and her niece, who was the girl in the video being urinated on when she was 15, and to all the black girls and women he's preyed upon, groomed, assaulted, used, and abused throughout his 3-decade reign of black terror. So I say to Ebro, to Laura Stiles, Rosenberg, and to everyone and anyone else caught up in their feelings of not wanting to discard R. Kelly's music, just be honest about this shit. Y'all don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck about black women and girls. Shocker. Not really. You don't mind listening to this predator talk and sing about the teenage girls and women he's groomed, used, manipulated, and abused in his song lyrics. You don't care that thanks to black men like R. Kelly, 1 in every 4 black girls are sexually abused before age 18, and that 1 in every 5 black women are rape survivors. Y'all don't fucking care. And it's quite hypocritical of those two, mainly of Ebro and Rosenberg specifically, to roast and toast Power 105's The Breakfast Club for their misogynoir while partaking in it themselves. And all over a nigga like R. Kelly. Before signing off, I'd like to say, I hope all my peeps who were brave enough to go to New York Comic Con at the Javits this weekend are having fun and keeping safe from Delta. Myself, being that my past 2 weekends were full of stuff that I did, I opted to stay my black ass the hell home. It's one thing to meet a few folks for dinner or go to a conference. and wholly another thing to go to the biggest comic culture event on the East Coast, where attendance is usually in the thousands. I don't know about y'all, but I don't feel comfortable wading through that many people in such close proximity, while only 64% of New York State's population is fully vaccinated from COVID-19. That number needs to be much, much higher. Herd immunity from disease occurs when about 70 to 90% of a population becomes immune, either via vaccination or enough of a population gaining immunity from past infection. Now, we don't want to get to herd immunity via the latter, because the more likely thing that happens is that more people die and will die. We want to get to herd immunity via vaccination, and the percentage for that needs to be a bit higher depending on how contagious a disease is. Like, for example, herd immunity from measles, 93 to 95% of a population needs to be vaccinated for herd immunity to take place. And with all the different COVID variants that have shown they're much easier to transmit between people, every state needs to get their vaccination numbers up to at least 90%. I mean, they won't, but that's what needs to happen before I feel even 50% comfortable humoring the idea of going in person to a large convention or game tournament. So please, folks, please, 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 if you really want these events to come back or whatever, get vaccinated, get the shot, okay? And continue to get tested at least once a month for COVID. Wear masks, wash your hands, and social distance. And that's going to do it for episode 4 of the FOXYBITS podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Anchor, Spotify, or wherever you receive your podcasts, and on YouTube. Until next time, remember, be less of a dick. Bye, Foxy Ones.